How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs co-beat writer for On SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today. Now, as we know, Week 13 has come and gone. The Kansas City Chiefs, they got started and they lost against the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving and dropped to 6-6. They have a tall task in front of them if they have any hopes of getting themselves into the playoffs. They're going to have to beat almost everybody, if not everybody, in hope that their other wild card contenders or playoff contenders will lose. The best way to do it is just to keep winning. And they've got 5 games left to do it. Now, it's doable. This Kansas City Chiefs team won 15 games last year. Granted, it was a different team, but when you look at things on paper, not too many things have been removed. Some things have been added, and some things just haven't worked out. But at the end of the day, you still have the likes of Rashee Rice. You have a Travis Kelce who's performing fairly well for his age, as well as Hollywood Brown on the offensive side of things. Chris Jones is starting to come into his own a little bit. Nick Bolton had one of the best games of his season against the Indianapolis Colts a few weeks ago, as well as against the Dallas Cowboys. So things are kind of turning up for Kansas City, but they're not necessarily getting over that final hump because they're playing catch-up in almost every game that they end up losing. But going into Week 14, they will host the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans team led by C.J. Stroud at quarterback. And when you look at these two quarterbacks, that's the topic of today's episode. We're going to be diving into the pros and the cons that both quarterbacks, both Kansas City's Patrick Mahomes and Houston Texans' C.J. Stroud have. Going into this game, I will say that Kansas City's back should be against the wall, knowing that the Texans have won 4 straight. C.J. Stroud put up 276 passing yards against the Indianapolis Colts yesterday to cap off Week 13 for them in a 20-16 victory. But when you're looking at their victories and how C.J. Stroud has performed this year when he is on the field, he's not going to always hurt you with some deep balls. In fact, 276 passing yards was his second highest of the season. 318 against the San Francisco 49ers was his highest completion rate and passing yards rate. That is, it's got to be paid attention to. He might not be the best quarterback to throw the ball, but his age and the fact that he's still young is going to aid him. In fact, so long as he has a wide receiver and several of them to step forward, he should still be a man to fear. But when you look at how Patrick Mahomes has performed in 12 games this season, one, he hasn't been injured at all, so I think that is a pro for Patrick and a con for CJ. 12 games played, he has 3,238 passing yards, averaging 7.3 yards per reception, which is well over how it was last season for him. And honestly, it's his best average rate in the last 2 years for him. While he does and has thrown 7 interceptions, and he's been sacked 27 times with still 5 games to go, Patrick Mahomes is going to give you the best damn option to keep you in this game. And I think that going up against the likes of the Texans, a team that has seen their fair share of ups and downs, that they do display beatable traits. Going back to C.J. Stroud, he averages 7.9 passing yards this season, but at the same time, he's only played in 9 games. However, this is kind of a pro if you think about things for Houston. Houston is in the playoff hunt. C.J. Stroud is a guy who is very young. He can bounce back from an injury a lot quicker than, say, a veteran quarterback could. And even then, they have a shot at making the playoffs themselves, led by CJ, meaning that they're going to have wanted him to be at 100%. Sure, he hasn't been 100% all season long, but if he's good enough to play against the Colts yesterday, then you've got to assume, and for the rest of the season, that he's going to be a factor that Kansas City and other of his opponents should be wary of. CJ Stroud is got a lot of talent, but one thing that he does lack in, as well as Patrick, is the interceptions thrown. CJ has 6 interceptions thrown this season, and Patrick has 7. Patrick has played in more games, which means that CJ Stroud has a lesser or a more impactful interception rate, something that the likes of Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, everybody on the secondary for the Kansas City Chiefs should be ready for. I think that when you're looking at these two quarterbacks and when you're ultimately going to try and compare them, there is no comparison. CJ Stroud has a bright future in the National Football League. Like I said, still 24 years of age. I think Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs just need this game a little bit more. And I think that they're going to really display that in front of their home fans. Something that they've done well all season long. And knowing that this isn't a unfamiliar territory for Patrick Mahomes in terms of big game, you've beaten the Texans before, and you've done it in a must-win situation. Sure, you can make it feel like a must-win, which it is if you want to make the playoffs. But if you don't, then just go out there and you can still beat them. I'm fairly confident that Patrick Mahomes will have a strong game against and over CJ Stroud compared to the way that we've kind of seen this trend of the Kansas City Chiefs team looking as of late. But with that being said, be sure you follow me over on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. You're not going to want to miss any coverage of the Kansas City Chiefs while we get into the rest of the regular season. You can also follow us over at KC Chiefs on SI, both on X and Facebook. Everything gets posted there. Because Kansas City Chiefs on SI is the place to get your Kansas City Chiefs news. With that, folks, be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow.